Welcome to episode 5 of Chat with the Chair. I am Tom Borgia, CFMA's 2022-23 chair. In recognition of CCIFP month, today my guests are Janice Lowery, CCIFP and controller at Balfour Beatty in Orlando, Florida, and Margie Morris, CCIFP and partner at Guignard Company in Longwood, Florida. Ladies, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having us, Tom.
All right, let's get started with our rapid fire questions. Margie, you're up first.
Yes.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs. Absolute dogs. I have 4 of them. So
You got to give us types and names. Come on.
okay. So I got 2 senior dogs, Camilla and Sophie, and I got 2 puppies that we call them our COVID dogs, and that's Remington and Ruger. So French bulldogs and then rescue dogs. So yes.
The bulldogs are mean. They try to bite me.
Excellent. Thanks for the commentary, Janice. I've got, for those out there, I'm a dogs person as well. I've got 1 dog. It's a little Havanese. He's about 9.5 pounds and he can fit in the palm of my hand, but love him like a family member for sure. All right, Janice, you're next. What's the best thing that's happened to you this year?
I would say for me, it's being able to accomplish and getting the CCIP certification. It definitely was difficult, studying for those 7 or 8 months, getting prepared, but it felt like it was a really good, great accomplishment for me.
Awesome. That's great to hear. I know it's definitely challenging, but certainly rewarding on the other end, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I would encourage anybody to study for it, prepare for it, and then take the test. It's well worth it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. Now I've got a question for both of you. So within the last year, you've both obtained your CCIFP. What advice do you have for those that are thinking about pursuing this certification, and share that advice? So Margie, you first.
Well, I might just take Janice's advice because, we studied together and we came up with a plan. And I would say, Janice and I always said, stick to the plan, even when we wanted to veer off, and then schedule it in your calendar. That's so important to schedule your study time, your reading time. You treat it like it's an appointment, and and then have an end date on when you want to do it. So don't push it off. So those would be what my advice.
Nice. Janice, how about you?
I would say don't be afraid to reach out to experts. We did, and they were more than happy to help us, whether it was legal or HR or the 606 revenue recognition. So don't be afraid, and also get a study group. It was really helpful for me hearing different people talk about their experiences. So I would say those 2 things.
I think we owe a lot of people shots of tequila for our external experts that helped us along the way, for sure.
Yeah, maybe more than one.
Well, it's interesting to hear you both say try to find a partner and tag team. I think that's one of the interesting things throughout the years and talking to people that have gotten their CCIFP certification is you don't want to feel like you're going at it alone. And there's so many great, smart people out there that are willing to help, peers of ours or folks from across the country that are willing to help with the process, so you don't feel like you're just going it alone. And I think the accountability part of it is very important as well, kind of like Margie just said, to make sure you've got a partner, you've got it in the calendar, and that you're committed to the process. And I think in the case with both of you, you guys were committed to the process, the study time, putting in the effort to get there. And obviously you were both rewarded with that. So that was wonderful to see.
On a side note, Janice and I used to go to the conferences together, and we would always walk by the booth and be like, ugh, we should do it this year. We should do it this year. And finally, January, or I think December, we were like, let's do it. So it took years for us to finally pull the trigger, but we did.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad glad to hear it. All right, next up, Margie, what book are you currently reading?
Funny you should ask. A friend of mine just published a book. It's called The Art of Picking Up Dog Poop, leading from the I know she knew I love dogs and she wrote this book, but it really is a practical approach to overcoming setbacks and thriving at work. So I would strongly say it's really good for like middle management folks. And but there's funny little stories along the way. And so I told her I would read it.
The Art of Picking Up Dog Poop.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. There's a first time for everything.
There is.
All right, a little bit more to the serious side. Janice, what career advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
Don't be afraid of hard work. And what I mean by that is to work smart, not necessarily hard, but put in some extra time so people know that you are willing to go the extra mile. I think a lot of kids these days only work till maybe 4 or 5 o'clock. But management is looking for that, that person that stands out from all the other ones. So I would say don't be afraid of hard work and be able to converse, be able to talk to other people that you're surrounded with. Whether it's the president of the company, the vice president, or, a controller, make sure you can stop by and just say hi and make sure they know who you are.
For sure. It's interesting. The work smarter comment goes a long way. I think when I look back on when I started in the construction finance industry years ago, it was always about, hey, put in as many hours as you can. You work like a dog and get it done. But I think kind of the new school approach, you can still work hard and get it done, but you can work smart, you can be efficient in it. And I think we're just so much smarter now and more efficient in the way that we do things that we can get stuff done. But I think more important to that is your comment about communication. Just being able to talk to people, communicate, be able to tell the story and be understood is such an important part of business nowadays. So I definitely agree with you there. So next up, it is time for both of you to ask me anything. So any question, no questions off limits. Margie, feel free to fire away. Why don't you go first?
So my question is, what are your 3 effective time management routines that you follow daily? Because I need some advice.
That's a really good question, Margie. I guess my disclaimer here is what may work for me may not work for everyone, but I'm certainly willing to share a couple. I've probably got 20, and I'm probably not great at all of them, but there are a couple that I try to stick to. I think the first one that's really important for me is that I'm a calendar person. Anything that I'm going to do, any appointment, meeting, whatever it may be, it goes into my calendar. And I think I look back when I was younger, I was really good at remembering everything, or I'd have a Post-it note or a note card or something like that where I could jot stuff down and I could be like Rain Man and just go home and know what my next day looked like. But I think as I've gotten a little bit more mature, maybe a little older, I realize it's a lot easier to keep everything in that calendar. So I'm definitely a calendar person to start. The other thing that I find very helpful for me is before I leave the office or wherever I happen to be working at that specific day, I always look ahead in the calendar to the next 3 days to kind of get a feel for what's going on, what appointments I have, where those windows for personal stuff might be able to be in there as well. Or right. So for me, as an example, I've got a 12 and a 14-year-old. So we're running from sport 1 to sport 2 to school activities to everything else. So for me, looking ahead 3 days, it kind of sets my mind at ease, and I can leisurely think about everything that I've got going on because I've looked at the calendar in advance rather than waking up in the morning and just saying, okay, hey, what's going on today? And then starting to stress out about it. So the 3-day look ahead is important to me. One of the other things that I learned really early on in my career was really to be 10 minutes early to everything. So any meeting you have, any call, be there early. It eliminates the stress and the pressure of, hey, my Zoom call didn't work, or hey, the phone didn't work, or hey, I was in traffic, or whatever else it may be. Just find a way to get there 10 minutes early. and it causes a lot less stress. So, and then I think the other one for me is really to learn to shut the phone down when it's time for family. And I used to not be very good at this, but I think over the years I've gotten a little bit better. Having that work-life balance is important. And I know that we're all connected to our phones and that we want to be there 100% of the time for work and we want to be there 100% of the time for our family. It's impossible to do. And I think at the end of the day, I mean, we joke around a little bit. It's 10:30 at night. Somebody sends an email or calls. I don't know that there's that much that I can do at 10:30 at night that I can't wait until 7 o'clock in the morning to get done. So when I'm home, it's time for family. Am I reachable? Sure, I'm reachable, but you've got to understand that the balance is very important. So those are my three.
That's awesome.
All right, Janice, that's a tough question to beat, but I'm sure you've got a good one for me as well. What would you like to know?
So I wanted to ask you, I couldn't remember, when did you join CFMA and why did you decide to elevate within CFMA?
All right, really good question as well. For me, I think, and I'd actually have to check with CFMA membership, but I think it was 2003 that I joined CFMA. So I know on one of the earlier chats, I talked a little bit about how I got involved with CFMA early in my career. But I think the decision to elevate within CFMA came, it's probably twofold answer. I know the first one was being involved in the Central Florida chapter. I had an opportunity there to hone my leadership skills and work my way up through the officer track and become president of Central Florida. And I think when I did that, I started to realize CFMA is not only great for the education, but it's great for the networking and it's great for connections, and could help advance my career, both personally and professionally. And I think as I've matured a little bit and grown through CFMA and through J. Raymond Construction, it's become more important to me to be able to give back to an industry that's done so much for me and my family. And I know I talked a little bit, even in my speech in Atlanta earlier this year, there were some very, very important people who I met early on in my career that took an interest in me and took a liking to me and helped me understand how construction financial management worked and that it was a great career and that you could be involved in it. It could take care of your family. And I think as I've progressed throughout my career, I've turned the other way and said, okay, how can I help younger members be involved and understand the same thing and give that support and that passion and that encouragement that those mentors did for me back in the day. So it's really about how do I find a way to give back to an association of members in an industry that's been so good to me and my family.
Great response, Tom.
Thank
You are very easy to like.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. It's always cool to kind of see the progression in, I don't know, the way that our thoughts change and the way that our mind changes over the years on the things that are important to us. And I still do think to this day, education is vitally important. It's a very important piece of what CFMA does for our members, as is certification, right? We talked about certification a little bit earlier today. The connections are very much important, but it's a very tight-knit industry and close-knit industry. And there's people out there that are great people, and we just need to provide them the encouragement and show them gratitude, right? So the two things, gratitude and encouragement, those are two very important pieces that you should have in your toolbox every day. And both are free, right? They don't even cost us a cent. Those are things you can do every day to help somebody out, whether that's in construction finance or in your personal life or in your family life or anything else. So, I mean, those are two things that I live by as well. So great question, Janice. I like that one as well. So Margie and Janice, thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to join us. It's always great to connect with members and get to know them just a little bit better, both personally and professionally. So for those that would like to learn more about the CCIFP certification, please go to cfma.org/CCIFP. And to the viewers at home, thanks for watching, and be sure to join me next month as we come together with another great leader from within CFMA. Until next time, enjoy the rest of your summer.